right. So getting into the thick of the sponsorship 42 visa, the TSS. So TSS stands for temporary skills shortage. And it is a 3 steps process. When you apply for your visa, the company must also have applied for nomination approval, which is an approval for the position they're offering you. And that company must have applied for or have had an approval as a business sponsor. So some companies may already be approved as an SPS, and that approval is valid for 5 years. But in every case, regardless of the company that's offering you a job, there's always a position application where the company has to explain to the Department of Home Affairs why they're looking at nominating you and why you're the best person for that job and why they need someone in that role right now. We don't need to wait for number 1 to be approved to lodge number 2 and then lodge your visa application. We can lodge all of the 3 at the same time, but they only going to be approved if the business is approved and then the position. What does it take for a business to be approved to sponsor overseas employees? Any type of business in Australia that has an ABN can potentially be approved to be a sponsor. So we're talking about companies, partnerships, even sole trader employers. So for example, if I have an ABN and I work as a sole trader, Erica Carneiro Services, I can employ people being a sole trader. And that sole trader could also potentially sponsor overseas workers. But regardless of what type of entity that business is in Australia, that business needs to be okay financially. And by okay, it's not necessary that the company is turning over millions and millions of dollars of profit, or even turnover wise. It can be a small business, it can be a startup business, as long as there's no adverse information. And what is adverse information? Adverse information is, for example, if the company has a problem with the taxation office, if they haven't paid their tax, or if they have a problem with the Fair Work Australia and an employee has claimed that they were unfairly dismissed or that they broke any employment laws, and especially with the Department of Home Affairs. If they were a sponsor in the past and they didn't follow their obligations, or they were offering, let's say, a job to a chef, they sponsored the chef being a restaurant, and then they were monitored, and the Department of Home Affairs found out that they were actually employing that person as a kitchen hand, that can have consequences. So as long as there's no adverse legal information against that company, potentially they could be approved. As you can see, it's not very expensive for a company to become approved. The application fee is only $420, and that approval will stay valid for 5 years. Now, of course, if your employer is looking at hiring a migration firm like us, there's of course the costs of us preparing and lodging the application, but the Department of Home Affairs will only charge $420.